So I'm in Morgantown, Kentucky, up above the Green River. Lots of historical markers here in town. Daniel Morgan, born in 1735, he was a hero of the American Revolution, served as a civilian teamster in the French and Indian War and in Canada as an officer in Virginia colonial militia. His defeat of Colonel Tarleton at Cowpens in South Carolina was considered a tactical masterpiece for which he received the gold medal from Congress. Elected to United States Congress and served one term before he died in Virginia 1802. This town right here, the county seat of Butler County, it was originally called Funkhauser Hill. It was renamed Morgantown in December of 1810 to honor Revolutionary War officer Daniel Morgan. Was incorporated in 1813. Began as a settlement of Revolutionary War veterans who were awarded land for military service and pioneer settlers heading west. Right here in front of the courthouse. Interesting place. Of course, there's lots of history everywhere you go. We live in a world of events and people here in small town Kentucky. Lots of people honored with some historical markers right here in the courthouse. And monuments. And just neat to read about the events and people of a particular area. Pretty day here in Western Kentucky. So here's the interesting thing about this monument. It was built right around the Spanish and American War, and it kind of commemorates both sides of the war. It's only one of two statues in Kentucky that do so. You know, both Union and Confederate sides funded this monument, and memorialized or honored on here are federal soldiers and Confederate soldiers, of course Spanish American soldiers as well, of that war. Pretty interesting. Civil War is a good example of a lot of things. The depravity of man, the inability of government to totally bring the kingdom of God into this world. Not that it was necessarily even attempting to do that, but we just live in a flawed world. I've been thinking a lot about the kingdom of God here lately, and how one day Jesus will come back for us, and we'll usher into that kingdom, and there'll be a new heaven and a new earth. We look forward to that day, and with great anticipation, because of things like historical events like the Civil War, where we fight against each other, we cannot agree on things. Yes, slavery was a big issue for that, particularly in how man treated other men, particularly black people. But it was also an issue of states' rights, and people just could not agree on those things, and they still can't agree. There's so many things today that people disagree on, particularly in regard to the unborn, abortion. It's a new issue, in a sense, but an old issue, because of how we've seen that as far as slavery is concerned, and how this is kind of a new slavery for those who can't speak for themselves. We're just not going to get it right in this world, and that's why we look forward to the new heaven and the new earth. We live in these tents, these bodies here. we live in towns with courthouses that seem to be made pretty firm and look like they will last forever, but it all is going to be gone one day. One day we will be in a place that will have an eternal foundation because of this great God we serve. Man, I really look forward to that day. That's not to say that as we live in this world that we give up on that and we look forward to that day when all things will become new. God has placed us here for a reason, and so, you know, it's incumbent upon us to be the examples of light in this world that Jesus has called us to be, to people, to treat others fairly and lovingly, to be people of the Word, standing firmly on truth. Just because we can be people of truth and stand on the Word doesn't mean that we can't love other people. It doesn't matter what they are, race, sexual orientation, it just doesn't matter. You know, God has called us to love our neighbor. But we are people of the truth. God has got things to say, and even though we live as light in this world, we stand for truth. I'm in Morgantown, Kentucky. You can see the courthouse in the background, and lots of people have come from this area, not too far from Mammoth Cave. I love Mammoth Cave. Heading down to Bowling Green, and just putting this video out there for you. Love y'all. Take care.